Welcome back. Welcome back. And thank you for being here once more. As you can tell, I'm still at home. I have yet to embark on my next journey, my next trip, which is if I believe in maybe weeks from now. So since I'm home, as I promised you, I will be talking about my traveling, the reviews of the things that I've seen, and share with you insights on ins and outs of traveling. I also felt that it would be a good idea to share with you my understanding of certain topics about life. So yes, today I wanted us to talk about our ancestors. I might title this video our ancestors, how they still live within us. Yes, because you see, I'm of those, I believe, that our ancestors have never died. Their bodies, their outer bodies have decomposed, because they're made of earth dust, and their spirits, their unconsciousness, I think, or their soul or spirits, which are stardust, have long gone, but their consciousness are still very much with us. And I will tell you why I think that. Now, you see, from whatever standpoint or whatever perspective you look at this topic, you will soon understand that our ancestors are alive and they are inside of our bodies. Science, for instance, when you look at biology, biology teaches us that you inherit this from your fathers, you inherit that from your mother. And there is the DNA. And with DNA, you can take somebody who's in Venezuela, Caracas, and somebody else who is in Lisbon, Portugal, and link them. They've never met, but they were born by the same father. And then science takes both DNAs and looks at it, and somehow is capable of summoning a human being that brings these two people together. Science through DNA will look and be like, okay, as we look at your two DNAs, there is one man that is coming forward, a man that we're seeing, a bit like a divination, but it's scientific. And then, like, boom, here's this man, there is this man that is coming forth as we compare your two shit. And he's telling us that he is your father and then he's your father. And that is biology. And then they will tell you that you two are relative, you share the same father. So science is able to summon a human being that is not even in the picture through the DNA, the codes of DNA, goes to show you that, in a sense, that person is still very much inside of you. Within you. So that is, sorry. And a moment. Yes. So this man comes forth and says, I am the father of these two. Although this one is in Caracas, Venezuela, this one is in Lisbon, I am their father. This is what the man who's no longer alive or who's not in the picture tells science. That I brought these two people together. Going even further again, you realize that with science, you take the same two people, let's say they've never met, they are not even anywhere near related, but science looks at them, one Venezuela, Caracas, one in Lisbon, Portugal, another one in Kentucky, United States of America, and then they are brought together by a common ancestor, one man who lived generations ahead, like degrees and degrees of generations ahead. And then science will tell you, as we look at your DNAs, the three of you, one in Kentucky, Lisbon, and then Venezuela, one man is coming forward and telling us that he is your ancestor. That's what DNA does. I mean, science does. And this man is your father, and you guys are related by so many degrees removed. Imagine the accuracy of science to pinpoint an ancestor who's lived, let's say, 1,000 years ago, and tells you that that man who lives 1,000 years ago through so and so many generations is your father, your ancestor, your ancestors, goes to show you that this man is very much alive and his voice screams through your DNA. You may dispute that, but I mean, you don't dispute the facts, you don't dispute science. But again, let's say, for instance, you are not a scientific person and you are more of a spiritual person. I'm going to use a Judeo-Christian understanding of ancestries to explain to you how it is portrayed in either the Bible or the Torah. You will see, if you read the Bible, that God, God, the God of Israel, that is, who's now obviously the God of Christian religion, revealed himself to people by saying most of the time that he was the God of their forefathers. Imagine he comes to you and he says, I am the God of your forefathers. I am the God of your ancestors. I walked with your father. What he's saying, basically, God is saying, according to the Judeo-Christian understanding of that expression, what he's saying is that I walked with your forefathers, meaning I walked with your ancestors, people who are within you. So if you do not know who I am as their God, ask them, ask the people that are living inside of you. They will tell you that I was their God, and then I walked with them. And at times he even goes further, and he mentions names and says, I am the God of Jacob. I walked with Jacob. So, but why would God say things like that to human being if he's not expecting them to check somewhere? Because somebody can just come and say, yes, I'm the God of Jacob. But what he's saying is that, what, your ancestor who is living in you by the name of Jacob, ask him about me, he will tell you that I walked with him. So he's telling you to check in your lineage, which is still in you. So God will not be stupid enough to ask you to check things that are not existing. So he knows that, in a sense, that your ancestors are with you and they are walking with you. So if you ask them, they will tell you who he is. They will reveal themselves and tell you who he is. So that is even from a religious standpoint. And even if you are into for instance, I'm of African descent, so if you're from an African descent, you are most likely you have been exposed, or you are prone to understand the concept of ancestors, as in that whenever you have an issue, in Africa, or if you are an African, you have a problem, issue, whether health, finance, or whatever, they usually go to consult. They consult people, who are priests. Priests. They go by different names according to different regions. And then when you go see these people, the first thing they do is they ask you your name. And they do not ask you your name as in my name is Steve, or my name. No, they ask you your name, the name by which you are known by your people. I have a name. My name, for instance, if you were to go to my village, or you have to go to my people, Yes, Esperanza is my name, I have a long name and stuff, but there is a name that I'm known to by my people. There is that name. So if you go to them and then you tell them, you give them that name and you say, I am sent by, my name is Shakobe. Shakobe, that is like Shakobe. If you tell them that I am sent by Shakobe, and then you mention my father's name, they know who I am. So when you go see these people, when you go see them, consult with them, they ask you for that name because they want to trace back your lineage. They want to know who you are, and they want to understand. In order for them to know what is happening in your life, they want to see whether something along the road has happened to make you who you are. So they go back through your lineage, and then they do that by, obviously, you mention the name and then you throw carries they throw carries and they do what they do, and then they're able to connect and then speak to your ancestors and stuff like that, and then these things are revealed, and then they'll tell you your ancestor did this, something happened here, there was this and that and that and that, blah 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 blah. You don't need to be into that to understand, but I was just bringing forth arguments to show you how, again, I say, your ancestors are very much alive in you. So, if you're a scientific person, from a standpoint of science, you saw what I told you. If you're a religious person, you can also check with religion, and it will tell you just that. And then even if you are into alternative kind of spirituality, it's still the very same thing. These are not facts that are tied to any religion, tied to science. No, no, these are just facts of life, that cannot be disputed, that these people are with us at all time. And one way to know that they are with us at all time is that we inherit everything from them. Because they are with us, what they had is still with us. We still have it. So they're still carrying those things within us. And we inherit their belief, as in, for instance, a Jew is a Jew because there was a Jew before him. So a Jewish person inherit Judaism. It's a belief that has been established millennial years and throughout millennials, not throughout centuries, over 1,000 years or two. I'm not really sure of the accurate number of years, but they have inherited that, and then still today they have it. It is not because that they are always exposed to it, but it runs through their veins, and they know it. They know that religion is through their veins, it's in their blood. Yes, you can divorce from it at some point and then break away from the cycle, but who they really are is that, and they've learned to accept it and make it an integral part of themselves. So if somebody from a Jewish background can inherit belief the same way as well, like with Africa, you also inherit belief because sometimes somehow your ancestors again entered into some sort of covenant with entities, entities of land or sea or waters or rivers or something like that. They entered into a legally binding covenant, and because they are your ancestors, and because they are still alive within your veins, the covenant that they have entered with those entities still stands till today in your life. It is not necessarily you that the covenant is following, but it is your ancestor who is alive in you that is still binding you to that covenant that you've entered. And in some churches, for those who patronize Protestantism or Pentecostal, they speak mostly of a familiar spirit, a spirit that has been in the family for so long, somebody along the line, an ancestor along the line entered into a covenant with that spirit or entity that it has become a part of your existence, a part of your family throughout generation, and it is also a part of yours, whether you like it or not. Now, but the choice again becomes yours on how you choose to handle it, whether you still want to be under the covenant because it's because of your ancestors, or you want to break away from the covenant and do something else. The choice is totally up to you. You can either divorce what you inherit, or you learn to adapt to it and or manage, and manage it in any way you can. So, because obviously we inherit belief, we also inherit characters. We inherit characters so much that I have never met my paternal grandfather, but as my late father told me, he says, my demeanor, my way of carrying myself, is like him. I behave, my character is just like him. And I reminded him so much of his father, who's my grandfather, that it's just unbelievable how much I behave like him. And I had never seen this man, but I behave exactly like him. But again, that is obviously because this man is still very much alive in my body. He's still much alive in my DNA, in my in everything. He's in my blood. So it can only make sense that sometimes, or most of the time, I behave like him. So we inherit belief, and then we also inherit sicknesses. When you are sick, there are diseases that you go to the hospital and they will tell you, okay, we've run some tests, and then we've realized that this is hereditary. Hereditary, medically, which is hereditary. But when you take hereditary out of the medical understanding, what they are telling you is that we run tests, and then there is a man who came forward along your lineage, and this man contracted this disease, and it has since been part of your family. So it is still within you. That's what they're telling you, obviously, by saying hereditary. But that's their understanding. They're telling you that you cannot do away with it. You can just manage it and maybe find ways of coping with it. But it is very much there. And then we also inherit fears. We inherit fears, even fortune. You inherit fortune. You inherit fortune from your forefathers, and you inherit the way of handling fortunes. You do inherit that. But coming back to fear, I want to give you an example. For instance, me being of African descent, um, you will know that African people in general don't really have a good relationship with dogs. They don't really do well with dogs in general. I'm not saying all, but some have had to brave their fears and adopt, obviously, a better relationship with dogs. But you have to understand that it's an inherited fear, and it stems from the years of slavery, when dogs were used, to hunt for slave, or to hunt runaway slaves, or to keep, you know, African folks boxed in a certain position. So the dogs were used like that, and that information has been imprinted in us, in a sense, in a form of what's called epigenetic, that we have inherited this fear or phobia of dog, because we know what the dogs were used for without even being there, but we know what the dogs were used for. during slavery. And then as a result, whenever most most African people or African people of African descent see a dog, they don't see him as they don't yeah well they don't really interact well. They see him as a threat. So it is that. But again, some fears can be dealt with. It's just a phobia, and we'll get to that a bit later on. But again, epigenetic confirms this by, for instance, a study that was done on a cow. I think it was a cow or a pig. I have to read it again. I think it was a cow, and then the cow was within a confinement of electric wired in a farm, and then the cow got close to the wire and touched it with its nose, and it received a short wave of electric pulse, and then after that, the cow never really got near the wire again. But what's interesting here is that this cow ended up, obviously having offsprings within the same farm, and never, not a single time, have those offsprings got near the wire. It's like they already knew, it was in their system, that if you touch this, you're gonna get shocked. But this message was imprinted, right in the carpet of the DNA, through epigenetic, I think, or other means. But again, they have learned and they inherited that fear of the wire. So if that is applicable to animals, how much more it is for us human beings that, we inherit this fear. I'll give you another example. Same still with African people that we are, we don't really do well with swimming, in general. But again, that stems from the fear of water, and the fear of water is that, whenever you think of water, you think of drowning. You have not even touched the water, but it's drowning. It's because, again, as slavery occurred, um, most people were taken through the waters, and then they ended up drowning in oceans, but also were just taken away. And so whenever, today you think of water and then you have inherited that fear, it's like, you will be, you might just drown, or you might just, go away, or maybe you will never be seen again. So it's that phobia. But again, also those things are they are breakable. So now, obviously, with all that being said, we inherit things, some traits that are not quite pleasant or cannot be adapted to a modern way of life. So we want to do away with it. Now, how do we do that? I think the first thing first is you need to understand that, these ancestors or these forefathers that we have will always be with us. Always. Always. Just like your father, who is the obvious case, or your mother, because, it's an immediate relative, is always with you through their groomings, or what they have taught you about perceptions of life. These guys will always be there, but you have to become aware of the problem first. You have to become aware of what you want to do away with. Is it something that is within the spiritual realm? If it is within the spiritual realm, you have to become aware of what the problem is. You have to go. Obviously, I don't tell you what to do, but you will know how to maybe break some confidence, in spirituality, or how to allow some things to become part of the past without, obviously, because it's impossible, removing your genetic history from you. You become aware of it first, and then it's much more simpler again if you know, or you can perceive the problem. Like, for instance, let's say, throughout your lineage, people have always been drinking heavily. You come from a lineage of drunkard. I think that comes from you have to make a decision and say that I'm going to be taking an alternative route, because I don't want to do this. But then you look for the types of supports that you need in order to help you or enables you to better yourself, because now you are putting yourself in a position of the ancestor to be who is going to be breaking away some things that you do not agree with from the past. And you do that by, awareness first. You become aware of that, and then understanding that yes, things have happened to bring you where they are, but none of your forefathers were perfect. So how do you then improve from there, because you can never really be perfect. So after awareness, you come with change of pattern, because when you, for instance, again, you're not really good with dogs, but if you do not really, you are aware of it, but if you don't change your patterns and then embrace and get to know dogs and befriend them, like genuinely express a need of reconnecting with dog as part of you know of of your life, or a part of your existence. Yeah, I don't know. Well, but if you don't change your patterns to include that, then you will most likely produce the same result. But if you do, as some, I can tell you, some people had a phobia, and then they just got over it by just embracing that. So if you change patterns, you most likely will change result. And as time, when the DNA is transferred to the next generation, you can be sure that the things that you don't want to pass on will not pass on. So yeah, that is it. And we are just an evolved version of our ancestors. We are just an evolved version, but we still very much who they were. Just a bit an improved version. That's one thing we have to understand. And then we just need to, a bit like a Mercedes car, the car, Carl Benz's ideology of when he started the Mercedes is still the very same ideology that they use today, so it can look different, improved and better, but it still has the soul of a Mercedes. And when you look at it, you don't need to look twice to know this is a Mercedes, as it is now than as it was then. So yes, so being an improved version, or wanting to be an improved version, you just have to change patterns and make things a bit more open. Yeah, that is my understanding. That is my theory of how ancestors are still living within us. And mind you, this conversation has nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with spirituality, nothing to do with thing. It's just facts of life. So you can embrace it and digest it as you want, and then I hope it makes you better. But I would like to hear from you. I would like to hear your thoughts on these subject matters. And I'm also currently writing a book about that, and I pray and hope that maybe by the time this video is out, the book might be ready. Even if it's not, you can just, I will talk about it in future podcasts and YouTube's, but I will put the link below. When the book is available, I'll put the link below. I've named it The Silent Scream of Ancestors, a coded message from our past. So yes, I'm glad you've enjoyed this conversation, and thank you for having joined me and giving me part of your time to digest something a little bit undigestible for some, but I thank you again for that. And if you like what you hear or don't like what you hear, still give us a thumbs up. We don't really care. We do care, but we don't, So yeah, so give us a thumbs up and share it with people who are like-minded, people who are seeking more knowledge, and subscribe. It helps to grow the channel. So thank you for that in advance already. And it costs nothing, and nobody will know if you subscribe here. So hey, yeah, and hit the notification bell if you want to be alerted next time I post a video. So that is it for now. Thank you very much for watching, and then I'll see you next time. Bye.